It's been a while since I've owned a Ram truck. Well, that's not true. I got rid of it back in 2022. So this will be 2 years in October. And I don't care what anyone says. This is one of the best interiors in the game. It just is. I mean, hey, I'm not biased. I'm just telling the facts here. Now, in the last video I did, I got a lot of hate for the so-called clickbait. I want you guys to know something. I love to stir the pot. I've said this so many times before, and I'm gonna keep telling you, I love it. And when you guys get angry, I just get more excited because all the sensitive men in this world today, I just wanna mess with you now. So at this point, this video might be clickbait, so be ready. I'm just kidding, I love you guys. With that being said, a lot of things that I was hoping were not true are true. Now let's kind of go through some of those things. The good thing is, for you guys that like the 3/4 ton trucks like that one, they are getting rid of the standard output Cummins. So there will only be one Cummins. As you guys know, you can get the high output and the standard output in the 3500s and the 3/4 tons. You can only get the standard output. Also, it's been speculated that we're gonna have just one transmission. Currently right now we have the Eisen, which is a great transmission, 6-speed, and the 68 RFE, which is another good transmission, but just gets a lot of online hate. I've worked with that truck. I've had guys who have towed hundreds of thousands of miles on the 68 RFE, tuned, lifted, everything, no problems. But the online hate wins. With that being said, it's been speculated also that the ZF Powerline trans will be used in the new Ram trucks. Now, obviously, there's some news about the cabin chassis trucks right here. There it is. There's a 5500. It's probably a 120-inch cab to axle right there. Those trucks are expected to get hydrogen, which does not sound like a good idea because if you haven't driven it, well, never mind. But here's the bad news. The bad news is Ram is not expected to fix these stinking cabs, guys. They are not going to be fixing these beds, and that is just horrible news. Now, I'm going to read some articles to you guys here in a second. I don't care about a new front face. This face is still, in my opinion, one of the best. I don't care about a bigger screen. The screen in here, 12 inch, is pretty dang big. What I do care about is the cabs, because I'll be honest with you guys, I don't want to buy a truck, but I can be pushed to do anything, right? I mean, listen, I love the mega cabs. My favorite truck on the market. But I feel as though Ram is really hurting themselves by taking this platform and going another 2 to 3 years. Now, I guess you guys have to look at it this way. Ram got redesigned back in, or the 4.5 Gen Rams came out in 2019. So that was their redesign. This is gonna be basically a refresh for that truck, basically. So hopefully in a couple years, so we're talking about 2027, 2028 potentially, getting an all new Ram truck. That's not a good idea, Ram, just saying. So yes, this is not the greatest news for Ram trucks. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. You see that right there? Let's start off really quickly on this yellow sticker. I just did a video on a Ford F-150. It had 1,800 pounds of payload, actually close to 1,900, like 1,883 I believe it was. And they did lower, just to be fair, this is a purpose-built truck, and this is what Ram does. Ram actually does lower the gross vehicle weight rating to 9,680 pounds because they're, I guess, assuming people buying this truck are going off-road and they're not going to be towing. But if you want to tow a 15,000, 16,000 pound trailer, you're going to run out of payload way before you can even get to 8,000 pounds probably. I bet you money I could overload this truck with my travel trailer and my family and my generator and a few other things if I decide to try, if I tried. But my point is, this is a I said half ton. This is a HD truck, and it has just under 1,600 pounds of payload. The other issue with these trucks, guys, listen to me. You see right there? That's the fuel tank. This truck has a 31-gallon fuel tank. But that's not fair. That's not fair at all. That's an off-road truck. Maybe they just have smaller fuel tanks, right? Maybe. With that being said, here is a 2500 long bed. Let's see if it has that option on here. It does not have that option. 32-gallon fuel tank on a long bed truck. There's another one I saw here. Here's another 2500. I don't even know. Can you get the long bed 2500 with the 50-gallon fuel tank option? If I'm going off the window stickers, maybe not. This one doesn't have that 50-gallon fuel tank either. 32-gallon fuel tank, guys. If you get a long bed Ford, you can get a 48-gallon fuel tank standard. Now, GM is no better. GM at least has a 36-gallon fuel tank standard across the board. And even if you get a dually, you would still get that 36-gallon fuel tank without having an opportunity to upgrade it. Here's a dually here, 3500. Yep. 32-gallon fuel tank, guys. So Ram has a lot of work to do. If they're going to continue to run these 3/4 tons, they need to increase the gross fuel weight rating 100%, even if it's just to 10,800 pounds. I know people who are hot shotters are going to disagree with me, but they can still offer a payload downgrade like Ford does. Ford offers a payload downgrade to 10,000 pounds. They might even have a 9,900 pound one. Actually, I think it's just 10,000, but they have those options available for people who don't want a higher gross fuel weight rating. But for some people, if I want to carry a four-wheeler in that truck and tow my travel trailer, I would be over the payload. Now, we've already talked about the beds being smaller. That is a problem from Ram 2. This bed is entirely too small. You probably have half-ton trucks that have bigger beds. And this having the Ram boxes, which is pretty cool. I do like the Ram boxes. This is nice. But you have a small bed in the process. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Ford has a 6'8" bed rounded off. And GM has like a 6'10", 11" bed. So the cabs, we can talk about the cabs another day, but we know where that's gonna go. It's just entirely too small. And even if you get a mega cab, the mega cab is bigger and it's better, but on the front it's still small, but the rear is a lot bigger. You have more storage, the rear seats recline. It's definitely up there with the other two. HDRams.com actually posted these two articles for the 2500, and they saw a 3500 actually doing some testing. So Robert Miller is one that I believe wrote this. Now, I'm not going to read all this, but you guys can see here it says, while not a complete overhaul, the 2025 Ram Heavy Duty is scheduled to get a modest update at the end of this year. Okay. Now, they're saying that they're just going to be refreshing the front end. They said that this hood is going to be carried over from 2024. And it says here, for those who are expecting to get a new cab and get away from the 4th gen, sadly, you'll be waiting a little bit longer, which again, which pretty much confirms that they're not going to be changing the cabs and the beds on these trucks. And then it says down here, we can also spot that the dash is slightly covered up, showing what could be the new 14.5-inch Uconnect 5 touchscreen that the 1500's got. While we don't see new technologies like the presence of a heads-up display through the windshield, it makes us curious if Ram gave the updated heavy-duty trucks the new Atlantis electrical architecture that the half-tons have. And obviously it's going to talk about the powertrains. We've already kind of touched on that in other videos, so I don't want to keep beating that dead horse there. But it looks like they're going to keep running the 6.4-liter Hemi, which I kind of expected too if they're not going to be doing a complete redesign. But here's some of the pictures. Be sure to check out their website. They have really good information. Lastly, I'm just going to go through it really quickly. They did find a Bighorn testing. You guys can see it looks pretty much the exact same mirrors. They just have the front and rears covered up. Same bed, same cabs. And yeah, they're just pretty much discussing, you know, some of the sizes of the cabs here. And you can see that Ram is definitely lacking. So be sure to pause it there. And as you just saw, they're not going to really be doing any huge updates on this truck, and that seems to be a problem. I know that Ram's going to be going after Ford for that title of the most torque. As you guys know, Ford has a 500 horsepower, 1,200 pound-feet of torque monster. And the 10-speed behind it is livable day to day. Now, we've already discussed this. Ram's inline 6 Cummins does not need 10 gears. It really only needs 1 extra gear. If they put 1 extra gear in that Eisen, oh my goodness, it would make the world of a difference. It just needs 1 more gear, just 1 more. So hopefully with the power line having the 8-speed is the sweet spot, but you have to keep in mind more gears is not always a good thing because it could affect the exhaust brake. And as you guys know, Ram has the best exhaust brake by far. It's the most consistent exhaust brake ever, and Ford has fixed it. They can't touch Ram, and if Ram destroys that one huge advantage of theirs, that might hurt them in the process. So hopefully these new powertrains still stay true to what Ram does best, which is towing. I don't care what anyone says. This is the best truck for towing. Doesn't matter what you say. I've talked to so many guys who've owned them all. I've talked to hotshot guys who've said, I got away from Ram because I had a few problems with them. Went over to Ford and I wish I never did it. And had a few guys say they've gone over to GM. Not in bad trucks, but again, they don't tow like Ram trucks do. And I just think it's in that inline 6 design. I just think that with the amount of power you have, it's just enough, and the exhaust brake is more than enough. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't care about the new interiors. I think at this point, I just want to see a new cab. I was really hoping to see a big update on these trucks, like a true redesign, but we're not getting that. And hopefully, because of that not being the case, maybe they stay true to their pricing right now. That right now is what is helping Ram, I think, because they are no longer the most expensive truck on the market. They are actually about where Chevy trucks are. So this is a 2500 diesel, has a 12-inch display, and this is a Laramie too. So this truck is priced at $77,000, and it's pretty loaded for the most part. You can get this truck under 70 grand. Okay, so that truck is not quite below 70 grand, but depending on the time of the month, you might be able to get really close to $70,000. But it drives my point home. It's pretty much about the same price as a Chevy Silverado HD, if not a little bit cheaper. However, a Chevy Silverado 3/4 ton diesel will always have about 1,350 pounds more of capacity simply because they have an 11,350 pound gross vehicle weight rating, which is higher than the 10,000 pound that Ram has, not including the Rebel, as you saw, and not including the Power Wagon, because they have different GVWRs because they're purpose-built trucks for going off-road. You guys probably heard about Tim Kuniskis stepping down June 1st to retire. And you've probably seen in the news Stellantis laying off a lot of engineers. There's a lot going on in that company. And adding to all that, the 2025 Ram HDs not getting a full redesign is a huge, huge fail. The cabs are too small, the beds are too small, and they're just outdated. And at least they did lower the pricing. But here's a few things I wanted to mention. You guys already heard everything else I said. These are just 2 of the things I don't understand, that why Ram doesn't do this and why the others don't do it. Adaptive headlights. I've done some videos on Toyota Tundra and Nissan Titans. They actually have a manual operation, a toggle, where you can lower and raise the headlights at will. And that's always good because when you hook up to a trailer, obviously, or even put anything in the bed that's heavy, your front end gets lifted up, which means your headlights get lifted. And of course, they blind oncoming traffic. So I'm not sure why truck manufacturers don't make that standard. I'm even surprised that the government hasn't mandated adaptive headlights, or at least headlights that can be adjusted on the inside so it doesn't blind oncoming traffic. But that's always been shocking to me. Only Toyota and Nissan have offered that for like the last decade or more. Lastly, Ram has always been pretty bad with their tires. Now, I've talked about Firestone tires and Nexen tires. As you guys saw the test mule for the 3500 dually, it had the Nexen tires on there. And nothing against Firestone tires. I have nothing against those tires. It's just they wear out so fast. I had a 2018, I towed about 8,000 miles with that truck, maybe a little bit more actually, now that I think about it. And at about 20,000 miles, I needed to replace my tires. And that was with doing normal rotations too. But because the trucks are so heavy on the front end, and if you're towing, it just wears those tires down really fast. So that's something I hope that Ram fixes. But adding a bigger screen and a new face to a old style cab and bed, that's not gonna help in this situation. Ford has really leaped past Ram. Even if they catch up on the torque numbers, it doesn't matter about the extra power. That's the problem with these manufacturers. I know because of the emissions that we have on these trucks, that's why you've seen such a huge increase in these power numbers, because it helped to keep people buying diesels, right? And they have gotten better at towing. But the truth of the matter is, I wish they would fight for the consumers. At the end of the day, it's been over a decade since they've mandated SCR, DEF, and I think DPF was before all that, the diesel particulate filter, I believe. And those systems have been proven to be unreliable, and they use more diesel and more resources, just to keep them clean basically. So why they haven't found a new way to test and make these engines obviously more efficient, but also better for the environment. There has to be another way, but it is what it is. I'm just kind of rambling right now because I'm a little frustrated with Ram. I think GMC, Chevy, and Ford have just caught up because it's been a while. Like I would say up until about 2023, Ram has been pretty much the top truck in my opinion. But once Ford redesigned and once GM did their refresh, they're better trucks overall. But nothing against Ram trucks. I love what they've done. They have one of the best towing trucks on the market. I've owned that truck, and I've owned Chevys, GMCs, driven a lot of Ford trucks. And when it comes down to towing, I'm telling you, even with my GMC now, I love my truck to death. If Ram were to do a complete redesign, I probably would have already put down a deposit at this point. But with what they're doing, not worth it. But I hope you guys liked the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. And we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully Ram will do something sooner than later, maybe in a couple years, but very unlikely since they're adding all these new tech features to it to keep it relevant. See you guys soon.